city of Warrensburg to put a question on the ballot for a 1/2 cent public safety sales tax, and please explain your answer and why.
It would have to come with a lot of stipulations, like offsetting another tax, where it's revenue neutral, a revisiting of that tax, a reauthorization to where you're able to scrutinize whether or not that tax is being utilized properly. And if you don't like how it's being utilized or it's being abused, then you have the capability to not reauthorize that. That's a huge one, because a lot of these taxes are passed and they go on in perpetuity, and there's no capability of accountability for you, the voter. So a reauthorization for the people is huge, and it's a big one. But a 1/2 cent is a massive tax increase, folks, just so you know, that's massive. I've been working hard to phase out personal property tax. I think with this, I would absolutely do this if we're able to do these offsets. That way you're not renting your property any longer. I mean, that's a fundamental right of life, liberty, and property ownership, yet we rent every single day the capability to own things to pay our tax burden. So if we're able to offset that with a consumption tax, still fund the essential role of government, but make it to where you're not having to rent your belongings from the government, which, I mean, we just celebrated the 4th of July, Independence Day, but yet did we actually read the declaration of what we were no longer going to do and pay duty to the king? So that's a big one that's the only way that I would support that, is if there was an offset, it's not a tax increase, and that you had the capability to revisit and revote on these things. That way the power is still in your hand and not in a government official.
All right, I'll read the question again. Would you support a bill that would give authority to the city of Warrensburg to put a question on the ballot for a 1/2 cent public safety sales tax, and please explain why?
I'm a small government, small tax guy, plain and simple. We have given the Senate, just within the last couple of years, a $500 million tax cut at the state level. But I do believe that there are certain on the Senate, because they weren't working, didn't even take a look at that. Here's the issue. You guys at the local level know what you need. We had a massive problem. The little town that I'm from called Pleasant Hill. Our police department, the facility that they were in, was an absolute mess. It's a former storage tank for water. I have walked through there. Their main setup for their computers is on a stand with sitting water underneath it. The locals wanted that fixed. We put that initiative was put on the ballot. They supported it overwhelmingly. I do believe that we have to be efficient in how we are taxing. We need to be low taxes. I believe in corresponding. If you're going to increase a tax, you need to bring down a tax somewhere. But I do believe at the local level, just like in Pleasant Hill, if you guys think you have that need, you should have the opportunity to vote on that. The taxes that were put on the ballot in Pleasant Hill were voted on overwhelmingly. The people saw the need, especially with the police department. Now, where it gets really crowded, where it gets really cloudy, is when you start to combine multiple parts onto that. What do I mean? If it goes beyond the police department, you're adding on multiple sections of the tax code into that, then it gets incredibly cloudy. Because we have sown at the state level all kinds of initiatives going forward that are going to help veterans through taxes, and it doesn't happen, like with marijuana, like with gambling. That stuff isn't working, folks. And so we got to be very careful how we structure these things, but we need to keep the taxes across the state of Missouri.
All right, Dan, you have the honor of answering this question and be the final one.
All right, Woody, as I look back across the room here, I see our police chief in the back corner there. I know he's short men and women to be part of our police force here. I think we also got a statute that's old and outdated that needs to be changed. Let the people vote on whether they want to raise their taxes for law enforcement. It's a local issue. I think we need to be good stewards of our tax dollars that we're given at the state, and not send them on frivolous lawsuits from a Twitter account. So that, I'd say I think we need to look back at repealing the statute, and we need to move forward and back our men and women in blue. And if the people here in Warrensburg want to vote for 0.5% sales tax, let them vote for it. Thank you, and thanks for the timekeepers being up here. You guys do a great job.
Now, gentlemen, that's it. The Chamber thanks you all very much for coming to our forum this evening.